DJ Payne 1.
Hello, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the CEO Sports Show for October 2nd, 2025. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about Sheduer Sanders and his episode that he had with the media yesterday. We're also going to be talking about the San Francisco 49ers. And I also want to get into some NBA talk here today. I want to talk about, some teams in the Eastern Conference that I think could potentially win the conference. But before we get into the episode, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Please make sure to go check out the other shows on the Kretschman Media Network. I would appreciate that as well. And without further ado, let's get into the episode. Okay. So I want to start off in Cleveland with Sheduer Sanders. So the Browns are making Dylan Gabriel their starting quarterback. They've seen enough from Joe Flacco. They've seen enough from the team as a whole that they want to move in a different direction. I applaud them for the decision. I think that it's the right decision to make. Look, you have two rookies that you think can maybe be something on your roster. Start one of those guys. You're not going anywhere this year. No need to keep the Band-Aid on. Just peel it off. And I think that you're going to get good results, or potentially good results out of it. The way Sheduer Sanders acted in that interview where he was not speaking to the media, he was speaking to the media, but he was not speaking to the media, completely and utterly immature. Sheduer Sanders is a child, and NFL teams were right when they decided we want nothing to do with this guy. The Browns were pressured into drafting this guy. This was an owner decision because the front office guys all saw this guy is not worth the problems. Sheduer Sanders was a good college quarterback. He was not a guy that was worth drafting in the first round. He did not look like a guy who would be one of the best starting quarterbacks in the league. Maybe his ceiling is back end of the top 10 at best, but he was never a guy that was going to be an elite quarterback in this league. And I just think that teams looked at Sheduer Sanders and they said, he is more problem, he is more trouble than what he is worth. And you're starting to see that play out in real time with the Cleveland Browns, not even 7 months after the NFL draft, and you're already starting to see problems with this guy. There is a reason why he is not going to make it as an NFL quarterback, because he can't get out of his own ways. I mean, you're talking about speeding tickets, the celebration after the touchdown that was completely unnecessary. What's going on right now with him not being able to accept the fact that he's not good enough to be a starting quarterback in the league. That's what this comes down to. It's no discrimination towards Sheduer Sanders. He's not good enough. That's the ultimate thing here. The Browns saw what this young man can provide to their football team, and they said, that's not good enough. We don't want him to be our starting quarterback. And that's the biggest thing about this all. The NFL was right about Sheduer Sanders. He's more trouble than talent. His talent does not outweigh the trouble and the attention that he's going to give to your organization. And you're seeing that play out in full time right now. I mean, you talk about, oh, I don't want to go to Baltimore because I don't want to be a backup quarterback. Well, you would have a chance to be a starting quarterback right now and show other teams that, hey, I'm a starting quarterback in this league. You should trade for me so I could be your starting quarterback. I'm going to play behind Lamar Jackson. And not only am I going to play behind Lamar Jackson, I'm going to learn behind Lamar Jackson. Lamar would have been a fantastic mentor to Sheduer Sanders. But Sheduer Sanders is just like, no, I don't want to go to the Ravens. I don't want to go to one of the most well put together franchises in the NFL. I don't want to go to an organization that has one of the best quarterbacks in football and play behind him and learn from him. I don't want to do that. I want to go to the Cleveland Browns where I'm going to still be a backup quarterback and still not be the guy. That's what he did. He said, oh yeah, no, Ravens, I don't want you guys. This is an absolute mess that the Browns have. And I think they just need to peel the Band-Aid off and just move on from the guy. What? Okay. Do the Browns actually think that this guy could potentially be a starter in the NFL? Do they think that? Because if they think that, then I can understand that. But at the end of the day, I don't think they see that in the guy, which is why they're saying, hey, we want to start Dylan Gabriel. I don't think the coaches want Sheduer on this team. I don't think people in the front office want Sheduer on this team. I think the only person that wants Sheduer on the Cleveland Browns is the owner. Because with Sheduer Sanders being on that roster, that brings some sort of media relevancy to the Cleveland Browns. Not actual relevancy, media relevancy. Because yes, people will talk about the Browns because of Sheduer Sanders. That team's name will be in the news. Cleveland Browns quarterback Sheduer Sanders. Cleveland Browns. They want to be talked about. They want some attention on them. They want some juice in their organization because nobody's going to talk about them if they didn't have Sheduer Sanders. So that's why the owner brought him in. They were a 5th round pick. Hey, he could be something. And if he is something, then we're going to have all this attention. NFL was right. The NFL was right. And it's so often we see these situations where people are like, oh, well, this player fell in the draft. Why is this guy still falling? There's a reason why. NFL teams have more information than fans, than these media scouts like Mel Kiper, who, by the way, is tapped in. Yes, I'm not trying to say he's not tapped in, but not to the extent that these NFL front offices and these NFL scouting departments are. I mean, these scouting departments these NFL teams put millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars into their scouting department. You want to know why? Because the draft is the lifeblood of NFL franchises. That's why teams put so much money into their scouting departments. So with these scouting departments that get all this money put into them, they said Sheduer Sanders, not worth it. We don't want to deal with the guy. Rightfully so. I wouldn't want to deal with him either if I'm an NFL franchise, because that guy is a problem. And you're starting to see it play out in full time right now. It's not anybody else's fault. It's not the Cleveland Browns' fault. It's not the NFL's fault. It's not his teammates' fault. It's his fault. He needs to be held accountable. The reason why Sheduer Sanders wasn't graded above Dylan Gabriel and wasn't drafted above Dylan Gabriel or any of the other quarterbacks in this draft that got drafted ahead of him was because of Sheduer Sanders. His pre-draft process sucked. It sucked. He thought he was better than what he was. He was smug in interviews. I mean, think about that. You're trying to get employed by an organization and you're just like, oh yeah, if you don't want to draft me, that's fine. Another team will draft me. Like other teams talk, right? Other scouting departments, they talk to each other like, yeah, that interview that we had with Sheduer Sanders was terrible. And you want to know what other NFL teams do? Do you think they're going to believe Sheduer Sanders when it's like, oh yeah, that team, they just didn't like me. I'm just not a fit for them. Or do you think they're going to believe other scouting departments when they talk? These people, they trade information. That's what this is. Scouting is an information-based scouting is an information-based business, right? People trade information all the time. The NFL was turned off by Sheduer Sanders. Teams were turned off by Sheduer Sanders. And they were right to be turned off by Sheduer Sanders. They did not want to draft him high in this draft. And he is proving, instead of proving all of these teams wrong for having him fall into the 5th round, he's proving every one of these teams right. Every one of these teams that didn't want to draft Sheduer Sanders, they were right to not do it because he is a problem. He is the problem. It's not the media. It's not the fans. It's not the scouts. It's him. And until he realizes that, he's not going to be anything in the NFL. Okay, so moving on, because that was a heavy topic. And here's the thing, right? Like, I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about this when it comes to this. Unfortunately, when it comes to sports and when it comes to scouting or anything of the such, unfortunately, sometimes you do have to talk about somebody's character. In this instance, I don't love doing it because this isn't personal for me. I don't have any ill will towards Sheduer Sanders. I want him to succeed. I want him to be as good as possible. But when things like this come up, you unfortunately have to question somebody's character. Unfortunately, I don't like doing it, but I have to provide the proper information to the people that tune into the show. And, you know, it's kind of like Todd McShay with the scouting, like his scouting show, where unfortunately he has to dive into players and their background and who they are personally, because these organizations invest millions upon millions of dollars into these players. They want to get to know these guys. And I believe that the teams should have their story told, right? Like, they should be able to tell their story through the media as well. Hey, there's some things that we didn't like about the guy. He wasn't a fit for our culture, whatever it may be. We didn't like some of the character things. And unfortunately, when these things play out, you have to be honest and you have to tell the complete and whole truth about this. Sheduer Sanders is not where he wants to be because of Sheduer Sanders and his character flaws. I don't like that I have to bring it up, but unfortunately, I have to from time to time. I want to talk about the San Francisco 49ers here. And I saw something today where tonight they're going to be without Brock Purdy, Jawan Jennings, and Ricky Pearsall. And it kind of makes me think, I know that the San Francisco 49ers, I think right now they're 3-1, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that here. Yeah, they're 3-1. So somebody may listen to my take about the San Francisco 49ers and say, they're 3-1. Why in the world would you have this take that you're about to have? There's a reason for it. When I look at the San Francisco 49ers, I think it's time that they rebuild. And I get it. They're a 3-1 football team. Like, so far, they've been pretty decent here. But you have to ask yourself the question when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, what is the ceiling of this football team with its current core? And if the ceiling isn't Super Bowl, then I think you need to be looking at potential options for a rebuild. And I think when people hear the word rebuild, they think about like a 5 to 7 year rebuild, kind of like the Philadelphia 76ers in basketball. That's not the case at all, though. If you have a good amount of cap space and draft picks, you could turn around your organization in 2 years, right? Like, you could have went through the entire process of a rebuild within 2 years, maybe even a year at sometimes, right? If you bring in the right players, you draft the right players, you have the right amount of draft compensation, you can rebuild a football team in a year or two. And that's where I think the San Francisco 49ers should go. Anybody on that team that they can get legit value for, where they're starting to get up there in age, I think that they need to explore the possibility of trading those guys. Because I think that with the San Francisco 49ers, their time with the core that they have has ran out. And I think they're holding on by a thread to what they were in 2023, 22, and 21, and I think 2020 as well, 2019, 2020. instead of looking at what they are and seeing that, hey, we're not close here. But see, the thing is, though, when it comes to a 49ers rebuild, I don't think it's going to take them that much time to turn this thing around, because I like Brock Purdy. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with. And I think that Kyle Shanahan is a really damn good head coach. I think you can win a Super Bowl with this guy if he has the right pieces. I mean, he almost won 2 Super Bowls with the San Francisco 49ers with a clear disadvantage at quarterback. So you have the coach, you have the quarterback. Right there, it's not a complete and total rebuild, because most teams are looking for the quarterback and the coach. San Francisco doesn't have to deal with that. And I think they have a young, emerging superstar wide receiver with Ricky Pearsall as well. He's starting to really show some things that makes you say, hey, that guy could potentially be a superstar in this league. So that's where I look at this whole situation with the San Francisco 49ers, and I say, you're not that far off per se, but at the same time, you do need to make sure that you're looking accurately at your future and you're saying, this is the direction that we need to go. And if that direction is rebuild, then I don't think you should waste much time doing it. Because here's the reason why I don't think you should waste time doing it. First off, like the San Francisco 49ers with Shanahan and Lynch, they've proven that they could build really, really good football teams. So they'll be able to sell a rebuild to San Francisco 49ers ownership, right? Like they'll be able to sell a rebuild to them because they have capable people in powerful positions in the organization. Head coach, general manager. I get it. There are some people that have criticisms about Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. I personally, I understand where people are coming from, but I don't agree with them. Like, I get it. John Lynch has had some bad draft picks. Understand that. Name me a front office executive that hasn't had bad draft picks, right? Like, every team is going to have their misses in the first or the second or the third round. Some teams are going to swing for the fences and unfortunately strike out. And that's what the 49ers did with Trey Lance. I mean, I think they drafted Jake Moody in the third round, who was just not a good kicker. I get it. They missed on a few picks. But I think overall, the San Francisco 49ers over the past 5 to 7 years have been one of the most stable organizations in football. And even in these years where I think their core is starting to get a bit older and you're starting to see maybe the end is near for the core that they have, they're still able. I mean, they're 3-1 right now, right? But you kind of have to ask yourself, how sustainable is the 49ers 3-1? Because I don't believe that this is a team. Like, I think they're going to lose tonight to the Los Angeles Rams. And I get it. They have a pretty easy schedule here. But even with this, what you would call an easy schedule, like, they're probably going to lose to the Rams. They're probably going to lose to the Buccaneers as well, right? So right there, that's 3-3. They play the Rams again on November 9th. I think they're going to lose that game. They get the Falcons and the 49ers. Or I'm sorry, the Falcons and the Texans. They can go 2-0 in those games. And then they have the Giants. But, like, I'm not picking them definitively in any of those next 3 games, right? Falcons, Texans, Giants. I'm not picking them, like, definitively. Like, I might pick them in those 3 games, depending on how they're playing. But I don't think that that's a shoo-in. I mean, I will say that win that they had over the Seahawks, that was an impressive win. So, I don't know. I think it would be in their best interest to rebuild. I might be wrong. Maybe they can continue to add pieces to the core that they have right now. But I see that this team, me personally, I think that they're starting to get to the very back end of the back nine of what this core could potentially be. And I think getting as many resources as you can and assets as you can for the players that you have would probably be in your best interest if you're the San Francisco 49ers. So I want to move on to some basketball stuff. When you look at the Eastern Conference, I want to pull up the Eastern Conference standings from last season here. No, 24-25. This is bad radio. Okay. I got to pull it up here. When you look at the Eastern Conference in the NBA, ask yourself this question. Who is the definitive favorite in that conference. Like, I thought this time last year, the Celtics were the definitive favorite. I was obviously wrong because they lost in the second round last year. Not only that, like, I get it. They lost Tatum in that series. They were going to lose that series anyway. But when I look at the Eastern Conference, I think that me personally, if I was picking a team to win it, I think I would go with the New York Knicks at the current moment. Now, there are some interesting teams in this conference, right? Cleveland Cavaliers, if they can remain healthy, they're a very interesting team. They might have been able to win the Eastern Conference if they were able to stay healthy last year. You have obviously the Knicks, the Magic adding Desmond Bane. They were one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league last year. And you add one of the better three-point shooters in the NBA. I get it. They gave up a lot of picks to go get him. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, they gave up a lot of picks to go get him, but they still got the player that I think is going to really help their team out this year. They have some really good young players on that team. I think Paolo Banchero has the potential to be maybe the best player in the Eastern Conference this upcoming season outside of Giannis, right? So I look at that, and I also look at the Philadelphia 76ers as a team. If they're able to stay healthy, I mean, they got some really good players on that team. Joel Embiid is one of the best players in the NBA when he's healthy. Tyrese Maxey is a very, very good player. We'll see what happens if Paul George can be a contributing piece to them. If VJ Edgecombe, the rookie, can be a contributing piece to them. They just signed back Quentin Grimes. So they have some talent on that team that makes you say, hey, if this team can stay healthy, they're going to be a very real problem in the Eastern Conference. But unfortunately, that if is a big thing. And I'm not going to count out the Bucks in this either. I get it. Their roster is pretty average outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo, but they have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's one of the best players in the game, the best player in the Eastern Conference, in my personal opinion. So when you have a player that good, even with an average roster around him, you're still going to win, I think, 50-plus games this year if Giannis stays healthy this year. So it's an interesting situation. And then you have some teams on the back end like the Heat and the Hawks that maybe they could make some things happen in the Eastern Conference as well. I wouldn't look at them as like true blood contenders. I personally think if I were to rank the contenders in the Eastern Conference, it would probably go New York, Cleveland, Orlando. I don't know who I would put Philly or Milwaukee, just because I can't bank on Philly's. I really cannot bank on Philly's injury history. So I would probably go with the Bucks before Philly and then Philly at 5. But like, again, I just think that this Eastern Conference this year is really weak. And obviously it has to do with the fact that Tatum's not going to be playing this year, probably. And Tyrese Halliburton is probably going to be out for the season as well. So, and the Pacers lost Miles Turner, which, by the way, what a turn of event for the Indiana Pacers, to where like, they went 7 games last year with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And if Tyrese Halliburton was healthy, maybe they win that series. But I think right now, if you're asking me, I believe that the New York Knicks are going to win the Eastern Conference. I was okay with them moving on from Tom Thibodeau. I thought that was the right move, just because we've seen this plenty of times with Tom Thibodeau where there is a ceiling to his basketball teams. There's a reason why he hasn't won the NBA Finals yet, and I don't even believe he's gotten to an NBA Final series. So that's the reason why I think the Knicks looked at this and said, could we potentially get more out of a guy like Mike Brown? You know, maybe it's not the best hire. I think Mike Brown's a damn good coach, to be honest with you. Like, I was okay with the hire. I think he's going to be a good coach for this team, but they have some guys there that make you say, okay, they're pretty damn, like, obviously Jalen Brunson, one of the best scorers in the NBA. OG Anunoby, really good player. Mikal Bridges, you need to see a little more from him, but that's a guy who, again, very good player. Same thing with Karl Anthony Towns. They have a lot of talent on that team. If they can put it together, and by the way, when I say if they can put it together, they put it together last year. That's why they made the conference championship game. or I'm sorry, the conference championship series, right? Like if you asked Knicks fans before last season, would you be okay if your team made it just to the Eastern Conference Finals and lost that game? I think a lot of Knicks fans would be like, you want to know what? I'd be okay with that. I get it. They lost to the Indiana Pacers, and I saw a lot of Knicks fans like panicking because of that. Like the Indiana Pacers were a really good basketball team last year. I think they had like the second best record in the second half of the season outside of Oklahoma City. I mean, they took Oklahoma City to 7 games last year. Nobody expected that. The Pacers were a much better team come playoff time than they have been over the course of all of last season. And you saw that when they played the Knicks last year. And yeah, like they were the better team, but that's because the Indiana Pacers were just a really good basketball team last year. I think it said more about the Pacers than it did the Knicks. Like the Knicks beating the Boston Celtics, I think it's 6 games last year, even though they didn't have Jason Tatum at the back end of that series, like, okay, but they still beat the Boston Celtics and they still put pretty big butt whooping on them. So yeah, I'm high on the Knicks this year. And it's mainly because the Eastern Conference is just so weak that I don't see any reason why the Knicks can't win it this year. Now, you have a team like the Cavaliers that obviously you have to respect them. Because they were the 1 seed last year. They do have to stay healthy. And if they can, that's going to be a team to be reckoned with. So interesting stuff in the NBA. Can't wait for that to start. It's right around the corner. But that's going to be it for the CEO Sports Show. If you guys haven't already, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And make sure to go check out the Kretschman Media shows on the network. I would greatly appreciate that as well. But until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace.